What's going on, guys? Chandler here. So this is going to be my new segment on my YouTube channel called First Listen Review that is taken from my $5 tier full album reactions. So I react to the entire album, and then at the very end I give my overall thoughts and initial thoughts and a score on the album as a whole. So again, if you do like what you see and want to support the channel going forward, head over to patreon.com/ChandlerBurtonEntertainment. This is exclusive to the $5 tier. Again, you get a full album reaction, review, and a whole bunch of other perks as well if you guys are interested. And again, there's always a link down below in the description and in the pinned comment. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the review, and thank you all so much for watching. Alright, my friends, so again, Suicide Silence, and I believe this is their 7th album. Yeah, their 7th album. Remember, You Must Die. Again, a lot of people have said that this album has kind of returned to form from them, or kind of reminds them of their older stuff, so that's a really high thing to say, because again, a lot of people hold The Cleansing, and especially for me, No Time to Bleed, like very close, you know, to their heart, like saying like some of the best deathcore they ever heard, because again, it's like the first introduction that a lot of people heard to this type of music. So a lot of people saying that this is return to form is a huge deal, and that's the main reason why I wanted to check it out. I haven't really listened to these guys that much. I did like I think I've done one reaction, like a song they kind of just did a little while ago. It's not even on this album. I think like Thinking in Tongues or something like that, and that was a pretty okay song. But yeah, I'm excited to see what this album has in store, whether I love it or hate it. Again, I'm definitely more of a metalcore guy, but again, I do appreciate Suicide Silence, and I do think Eddie is a very, very good vocalist. I mean, Mitch obviously was a legend, but I think Eddie is very good as well. We can't knock that. I mean, he's really good at what he does. So again, super excited to check this out with you guys here. Again, Suicide Silence. We're actually starting with the title track. The first song is Remember, which is like 50 seconds, and then the next song is You Must Die. So we're gonna be starting with the title track, and I always gotta say, you gotta bring it for the title track. So let's see what these boys have in store for us here. Again, in 3, 2, and 1.
A few moments later.
Dang, dude, that last song was really sick. I wish there was more like vocals on it. Like like in the beginning it was cool, and then like it had that really sick guitar part. That was actually really cool. All right, man. Well, as I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of people were saying that this reminded a lot of their older stuff. I caught maybe like a little bit of their older stuff in there, like from The Cleansing or like No Time to Bleed, but I don't think it doesn't really remind me of their old stuff at all. I think it's definitely better than, like, you know, of course, their self-titled and, you know, Becoming the Hunter. But yeah, let's talk about it. I'm getting my first listen review, and that is coming up next, so stick around for that. All right, my friend, let's go ahead and dive into Suicide Silence's new album, Remember, You Must Die. As I mentioned in kind of my initial thoughts, I heard like maybe little like sprinkles of like their older stuff in there, like from The Cleansing or maybe No Time to Bleed, but this did not sound like that at all, in my personal opinion. I read a lot of the reviews, and I was like, I don't know if that's gonna hold true to that. And in my personal opinion, I personally didn't find anything. Again, there's some few moments that sounded like it, but overall, man, this is a very just by the numbers deathcore record. This is not going to change the game at all. It's not bad by any means, but again, it just wasn't really for me. But I'm going to give my reasons why. So let's talk about that. We're always going to start with the pros first. So I will say pro number one, actually, in my opinion, this does not sound like The Cleansing or No Time to Bleed at all. Like those albums are very special. Just very, very good deathcore albums. And this album reminds me of the era of like the Black Crown and their other album when Eddie first started, called You Can't Stop Me, which I actually didn't mind that album. I thought it was pretty good. Like Inherit the Crown, I thought was actually a pretty good song. Sacred Words was a really good song. So I personally enjoyed that album. I thought it was pretty good. So if you're a fan of like that era of Suicide Silence, I think you're definitely going to find some enjoyment in this album as well. The production sounds exactly the same as Black Crown and You Can't Stop Me, and again, a lot of the structure sound the same as well. So if you like that era, you'll find something to enjoy with this album. I would also say that Eddie is still really good. I think, you know, a lot of people, obviously, they compare him to Mitch, which I don't think that's really fair to him. He had a lot of shoes to fill when it came to doing this, because again, Suicide Silence is super iconic. And so him being able to take on the mantle and to do this for so long now, I still think he sounds great. Obviously, he's getting up there in age, but again, like, he still sounds fantastic, and I think he is one of the better deathcore vocalists out there when it comes to consistency. He knows what he's doing, he takes care of his voice, and yeah, I think he sounds great. Even to this day, I still think he sounds really, really good. I'd also say as well, again, as much as there's a lot of repetitiveness on this album, the musicianship between these guys is really, really tight. Like, they're just very good musicians, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're making. They know the type of music they want to put out there. And honestly, like, I respect them for that. I think the musicianship and everything, the songs are very well put together. It doesn't sound choppy. It doesn't sound like they don't know what they're doing. It's very well put together. And I will say for my last pros that I actually really like the atmosphere on this album. A lot of it kind of reminded me of a little bit of like a horror movie, like again the beginning with the song like Remember, kind of that atmospheric voice, and then at the very end with their last song Full Void kind of end with that same type of voice. So I really like the atmosphere of the album. I thought that sounded really, really cool. So now we're going to dive into the cons, and I do have to say this again, I know that there are still a lot of people who are fans of Suicide Silence, and again, watching their music video for Dying Life, it proves to me that they could still like have a lot of people come out to their shows and have a great time. Like, they seem like they're really good dudes. Like, they seem like just really awesome. Just, I love that. I love seeing that. I think I personally have grown out of this band because, again, as I said before, I am more of a metalcore guy, but I do appreciate deathcore, you know, every so often. Like, there's a lot of new bands out there, like, for example, Brand of Sacrifice, where I'm like, dude, these guys are leading the way, and for deathcore, and I think they're the best band out there when it comes to heavier types of music. And I think about, you know, Brand of Sacrifice, or like Fit for an Autopsy, or even Lauren to Shore, like that orchestral that they have, and it's just like with Will being that missing piece that I think Lauren to Shore really needed. I listen to this album and I'm just like, dude, there's just nothing there. Like, it's a super repetitive album. Like, every song sounds exactly the same. Like, I know obviously I'm going to contradict myself. I know Lauren Shore has had a few songs that kind of sound similar, and a lot of those bands have had songs that sound very similar. But with this album, it was just over and over and over. Just the repetitiveness was getting to me, and I was like, dude, there's just nothing here for me to latch onto. There was always a couple of highlights in each of the songs where I was like, oh, that's really cool. Or again, a couple of parts where it did remind me of some of their older stuff, but it was so repetitive. And frankly, I'll be honest, it got kind of boring. There was a few parts in the album I was like, I kind of wanted to end because I was like just not intrigued with it at all. And there's just nothing special here. There's nothing special about this album. It's not a bad album. I'm not saying it's bad, because I think it's very well put together, but there's just nothing special about this album. And I hate sounding harsh, and I know there's some people that are gonna love this album. And again, for me, you know, like, I love Wage War, like, and stuff like that, and some people don't like them, and it's like, you know, you want to defend the bands that you like, but I can't lie and just say I was very disappointed. Like, there was nothing special to this album except maybe a couple of cool moments that made me go, oh, that's super sick. But other than that, man, there's just nothing here for me. So my top 3 favorite songs from this album here, I would say number 1, it would be Effed for Life. Trying to swear on these things, try to keep it as clean as possible, but that one has some groove to it. I really, really like that song. That song was really, really cool. I'd also say Altar of Self. That was one of the singles. Very simple song, but that song really worked for me here. I know the breakdowns in it were really cool. Eddie's voice really shined. The music video was a little bit, you know, cheesy, you know, to say the least, but I don't ever watch the music video. I always just want to, like, you know, hear the song. So overall, the song itself was really sick. Then I would say definitely the standout for me was actually B to C. It seems like a lot of the Black Sheep songs were probably my favorite. Like, Be Deceived and like Full Void were kind of like the 2 songs where I was like, this is actually really sick. I wish the album had more of like this type of music. But again, those were the 3 songs that really stuck out to me. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys here, I'm probably never gonna listen to this album again. I'm just being straight up. As I mentioned a little bit ago, again, because there's so many bands out there now that are really leading the way for like deathcore. Again, Brand of Sacrifice, Fit for an Autopsy, Lauren to Shore, and even one of my favorites, Thy Art is Murder. I think they're actually coming out with a new EP with Fit for an Autopsy, which I'm really, really excited for because I absolutely love Thy Art is Murder. It's just like with this band, I absolutely respect Suicide Silence. I think they are very talented. Again, as I said, the musicianship is great. But again, with bands, especially with like Brand of Sacrifice, where I think they are the best band in the deathcore scene right now, it's just, I listened to Brand of Sacrifice, and I'm like, why am I liking this so much more than Suicide Silence? And my reason for it is, like, Brand of Sacrifice actually brings something interesting to the table. Like, they draw a lot of inspiration from, like an anime. They have, like, cool, like, you know, orchestral, like, kids, like, orchestral, like, breakdowns, and there's singing involved, like, good singing, not like from Suicide Silence's, like, self-titled album that was terrible singing, but Kyle has a really good voice and Brand of Sacrifice, and they're incorporating so many good elements in there where it's like, that's why I think Brand of Sacrifice is the best, because they're just doing something new but still keeping that heavy sound that we all love. Suicide Silence, I feel like their time is up. I feel like they paved the way with the cleansing, but now it's like they've been doing this for so long, it's just like, no, these younger bands I think are just a little bit better. And again, I'm not saying, you know, Brand of Sacrifice, I'll probably be saying the same thing about Brand of Sacrifice in like 15 plus years, when I'm like, okay, they've been doing the same thing over and over. But for the time being, like, Brand of Sacrifice is like my personal favorite, and I don't mean to simp on them too much, I know I'm talking about Suicide Silence, but overall, this album's not terrible. I will never probably ever go back and listen to it ever again, which is just, you know, that's just me personally here. But again, I think the music is put together well. I think these guys are very talented, but overall, this album just wasn't for me. I'm going to give Suicide Silence, Remember You Must Die, a 6 out of 10. I think that's very fair for, again, I didn't love it, but I don't think it's fantastic. So it's kind of just a mid-deathcore album for me here. Again, it had moments where I was like, this is really sick, but honestly, just a little bit underwhelming for me.